Listen, steadfast one, for the hour you feared has arrived like a hammer upon iron, and the moment you long avoided now reveals the truth in you. At last, the one you trusted placed before you a trial carved from fire and shadows, not to break you, but to expose what you are made of. They wanted to watch your strength tremble, to measure the weight of your loyalty, to see if your heart would fracture under pressure. They thought the test would unmask weakness. They did not know it would awaken power, for within you lies a resolve older than fear, sharper than betrayal, and brighter than the darkness that hoped to swallow you. When the challenge rose, you did not collapse, you stood. When doubt hissed your name, you did not listen, you answered with truth. And when the storm tried to bend your spirit, you anchored yourself in faith deeper than any human expectation. Hear this now. You were not tested to prove your fragility. You were tested to reveal your destiny. Every blow you endured became a declaration. Every tear you shed became a vow. Every step you refused to retreat became a trumpet blast against the forces that wished to see you undone. You have passed through the fire, and the fire has bowed before you. So rise, rise with the authority of one who knows their worth. Rise with the certainty of one who stood unshaken. Rise with the calm strength of a warrior who has seen the battlefield of the heart and returned with victory in their hands. Your test was never designed to defeat you. It was designed to reveal you. And now, the world will witness the one thing they all doubted. You were ready, you were faithful, you were stronger than the trial, and nothing, not betrayal, not doubt, not fear, can strip away the truth that has now been proven. Stand tall. Your chapter of testing has ended. Your chapter of triumph begins. The test was not meant to break you, but to reveal you, and this truth unfolds through every moment you stood at the edge of yourself, wondering whether the weight placed upon your shoulders was designed to crush you, or to call something greater out of you. In the beginning, the pressure felt unfair, almost intentional in its harshness, as though life or the person who tested you wanted to expose your limits and watch you falter beneath them. Yet the deeper purpose of the trial was concealed beneath discomfort, hiding its wisdom beneath layers of uncertainty. You stood there, questioning your strength, questioning the loyalty of the one who placed the test before you, questioning even your own heart at times. But what you did not see immediately was that such moments forge clarity in ways comfort never could. The test served as a mirror, polished by adversity, reflecting not only your abilities but your integrity, your patience, your resolve, and the layers of courage you had not yet discovered within. This revelation did not come all at once. It rose slowly, like light breaking through storm clouds, showing you piece by piece that the challenge was never designed to destroy you. It was crafted to peel away illusions about who you thought you were, who others assumed you were, and what you believed you could endure. Every difficulty you faced acted like a chisel in the hands of purpose, breaking away the unnecessary, the fragile, the hidden fears you carried. And while it may have felt as though the blows were directed against you, they were in truth shaping you, drawing out the strength that had waited silently beneath the surface. You began to realize that survival alone was not the goal. Revelation was, discovery was, becoming was. The test existed so that the deeper, truer version of you could step forward. As the trial unfolded, you learned that breaking points are often misunderstood. They are not always signs of defeat. Sometimes they are thresholds. A breaking point can be the moment where old limits shatter, making room for new capacity. A place where you discover that the strength you believed was final was merely the beginning. The test was structured to push you to that threshold, not to humiliate you, not to strip you of dignity, but to allow the warrior within you to awaken and announce itself. It revealed how deeply you could endure without losing your values, how fiercely you could love without collapsing, how strongly you could stand even when the ground trembled underneath. Even the intentions behind the test, whether pure or flawed, cannot diminish what it ultimately accomplished in your life. Whether someone wanted to challenge your loyalty, your patience, or your emotional endurance, the result became something greater than their expectations. They sought to see your response. Instead, they uncovered your character. They attempted to measure your limits. Instead, they exposed your potential. They hoped to find whether you would stand or fall. Instead, they witnessed the emergence of a strength that was impossible to see until pressure brought it into view. You did not simply pass the test, you transcended it. In this revelation, you learned things about yourself that comfort could never teach you. You learned that your spirit does not collapse under scrutiny, that your heart can remain steady even when tested by uncertainty, that your mind can remain clear even when pushed into confusion. You learned that you have a depth of endurance that cannot be imitated, bought, or taught by ease. The test revealed your resilience, not because you were unshaken, but because you kept moving even while shaken. It showed your faithfulness, not because circumstances were perfect, but because you remained true, even when situations felt unfair. It revealed your strength, not as a loud display of power, but as a quiet, unwavering commitment to remain standing regardless of how hard the wind blew. What was meant to expose your weaknesses instead uncovered your resolve. What was designed to question your motives instead highlighted your purity of intention. What aimed to measure your breaking point instead illuminated your unbreakable core. And in that unveiling, something within you changed permanently. You now know what lies inside you when the world presses in from all sides. You know that pressure does not define you, your response does. You know that challenges are not curses but clarifying forces. And above all, you now understand that testing is not a sign of abandonment, but often a sign of preparation. The test revealed truth, not only to those who gave it to you, but to you as well. It revealed what you stand for, what you refuse to compromise, what you hold sacred, and what you are willing to endure for the sake of what is right. It revealed your dedication, the fire in your spirit, the strength in your silence, and the wisdom in your restraint. It showed that your courage is not performative, it is foundational, that your loyalty is not shallow, it is deeply rooted, that your perseverance is not circumstantial, it is part of your identity. All of this became visible only through the pressure of the test, for revelation requires contrast, and contrast requires challenge. Without the test you would have remained partially hidden, even from yourself, your power unclaimed, your potential unawakened, your depth unexplored. So now you stand not as someone broken, but as someone uncovered, someone clarified, someone strengthened, someone who has seen themselves through the eyes of adversity, and discovered that the truth within was always stronger than the trial without. The test did not break you, it revealed you, and what it revealed is extraordinary. Your resilience proved stronger than doubt and betrayal, and this truth emerged not in moments of comfort, but in the very heart of the storm, where every whisper of uncertainty tried to weaken your spirit. Doubt approached you like a shadow, subtle at first, then insistent, attempting to convince you that you were unprepared, unworthy, or too fragile to endure what stood before you. It questioned your intentions, challenged your confidence, and tried to rewrite the story of who you believed yourself to be. Betrayal, sharper and colder, struck without warning, leaving you with wounds that did not bleed outward but inward, into the deepest corners of your trust. It attempted to make you retreat, to shrink, to close your heart and surrender your strength. Yet even in these moments your resilience did not crumble. It rose, it stretched, it reached beyond pain and confusion, and held you together when everything around you seemed to be pulling you apart. This resilience was not loud or dramatic. It did not shout its presence or demand recognition. It appeared in the quiet decisions you made when no one was watching. The decision to keep moving when you felt like stopping, to speak truth when fear pressed on your chest, to hold your head high even when disappointment tried to bow it low. It showed itself in the steadiness of your breath when your heart was breaking, in the clarity of your choices when emotions threatened to blur your judgment, in the strength of your spirit when fatigue whispered that you had nothing left to give. You learned that resilience is not merely surviving difficulty, it is standing in the middle of chaos and refusing to let the chaos define you. Doubt tried to weaken your foundation by convincing you to question everything you knew about yourself. It attempted to distort your perception of your own worth. It told you that you were alone, that the challenges you faced were signs of inadequacy rather than opportunities for growth. It tried to convince you that you were not enough, that your strength was an illusion, and that the world would see right through you. But with each attempt, your resilience pushed back, refusing to be rewritten by fear. You chose to believe in your inner truth, even when your emotions trembled. You chose to trust the quiet voice of endurance, rather than the loud voice of insecurity. And in doing so you discovered that doubt does not have the final say unless you hand it the power to speak. Betrayal, however, was a different kind of test. Unlike doubt, which creeps in from within. Betrayal strikes from the outside, often delivered by the very hands you once trusted. It carries a sting that reaches deeper, because it comes from places where love, loyalty, or respect once lived. When it arrived, it tried to convince you that trust was foolish, that hope was dangerous, and that opening your heart was a mistake you should never repeat. It tried to twist your strength into vulnerability, and your vulnerability into weakness. For a moment, it may have succeeded in shaking you, causing you to question the intentions of those around you and the value of the connections you build. But even in the midst of that emotional earthquake, your resilience held you together. You did not let betrayal turn you bitter. You did not let it harden you into someone unrecognizable. Instead, you allowed it to sharpen your discernment without dimming your compassion. You learned to see clearly without becoming cynical. You learned to guard your heart without closing it. And most importantly, you refused to let the actions of others determine the strength of your spirit. Resilience does not erase pain, it transforms it. It takes the weight of betrayal and converts it into wisdom. It takes the shock of disappointment and turns it into deeper self-awareness. It takes heartbreak and turns it into a stronger, steadier heartbeat. Through every trial, your resilience revealed itself as something deeper than simple endurance. It became a force that refused to let external circumstances reshape your internal identity. It proved that while doubt may whisper, it cannot command. While betrayal may wound, it cannot define. Your resilience became the foundation upon which you rebuilt your confidence, your direction, and your sense of self. Every time you chose to rise instead of collapse, you reinforced a truth that nothing and no one could take from you. Your spirit is not breakable by human disappointment. This strength did not appear overnight. It was forged slowly, moment by moment, through experiences that demanded far more of you than you believed you had. It appeared the day you kept going even though you felt exhausted beyond words. It appeared the moment you spoke your truth, even when you feared it would be rejected. It appeared when you chose forgiveness, not because others deserved it, but because you refused to carry the weight of bitterness. It appeared when you realized that resilience is not the absence of emotional wounds, but the ability to heal without losing yourself in the process. Your resilience proved stronger than the doubts that tried to silence you, and the betrayals that tried to weaken you. And in that strength, something powerful was revealed. You are not defined by what happened to you, but by how you responded. You are not diminished by the shadows you walked through, but illuminated by the courage with which you walked. You are not controlled by the intentions of others, but guided by the truth within yourself. This truth now stands unshakable. You are stronger than the tests that confronted you, and your resilience is more enduring than the disappointments that tried to break you. You have risen through adversity not as someone defeated, but as someone refined. Doubt may return, betrayal may come again, challenges may continue to rise, but none of these forces will ever be greater than the strength that has already revealed itself in you. Your resilience has spoken, and its voice is louder than fear, clearer than pain, and stronger than anything that once tried to bring you down. You rose unshaken, anchored in unwavering truth, and this rising was not the dramatic ascent of someone untouched by hardship, but the steady, deliberate lifting of a soul that refused to yield to forces that wanted to see it fall. You felt the weight of confusion pressing against your chest, the sting of disappointment trying to weaken your knees, and the pull of fear attempting to drag you downward. Yet somewhere inside you, deeper than emotion, deeper than thought, there was a certainty, a truth that did not depend on approval, circumstances, or the shifting moods of others. That truth held you like bedrock beneath turbulent waters, keeping you aligned when everything around you swayed. And because you clung to that inner truth, you rose. You rose not because it was easy, but because something in you refused to stay down. Your rising did not happen in a single breath. It was not an instant transformation, nor a sudden burst of strength. It was the accumulation of countless small choices. The choice to keep your heart open when it would have been easier to shut it. The choice to speak with clarity even when tension clenched your body. The choice to stand tall when sorrow wanted to bend your back. Each of these choices built upon the last, shaping a silent foundation of strength that grew beneath you until it carried you upward. And though the world may not have noticed every decision you made, each one added power to your spirit, each one anchored you a little more deeply in truth, and each one helped you rise a little higher. Unwavering truth became your compass. It guided you when the path blurred, when people contradicted your intentions, when misunderstandings tried to paint you in the wrong light. You held firmly to what you knew about yourself, your integrity, your loyalty, your sincerity, and that knowledge refused to let you crumble under pressure. Truth is not always loud. Often, it does not defend itself with arguments or explanations. It simply stands, and because you aligned yourself with it, you stood with it, even when uncertainty tempted you to step off your path, even when emotional storms tried to push you into reaction. You remained centered, not immovable in the sense of being rigid or cold, but immovable in the sense of being grounded, stable, aware, and rooted in what is right. Your rising was marked by this groundedness. While others might have expected you to lash out, collapse, retreat, or break, you chose another response. You chose dignity. You chose calm. You chose to move through adversity without letting it distort your character. You proved that rising does not require aggression. It requires conviction. It requires the courage to act not from fear, but from principle. And because you acted from principle, your steps remained steady even when the ground beneath you shook. You rose unshaken, not because you were untouched by pain, but because you did not let pain control you. You carried your emotions with honesty. You felt them fully, acknowledged them and allowed them to speak, but you did not allow them to dictate your direction. You refused to let temporary circumstances define your permanent identity. You refused to let trials determine your worth, and in doing so, you reclaimed power over your own spirit. You walked forward with a clarity that adversity could not cloud, This rising revealed something powerful about your nature. You are not driven by external validation. Your strength does not hinge on whether someone recognizes it or fails to see it. Your truth is not dependent on applause or agreement. It exists within you, constant and unchanging, a quiet flame that remains lit even in the darkest seasons. And because this truth is your anchor, storms cannot drag you away from yourself. You do not sway with every gust of emotion or shift with every passing judgment. You remain you, consistent, principled, resilient. Many people rise only when conditions are favorable, when the winds blow gently and support surrounds them. But you rose in the opposite season, in the midst of tension, conflict, doubt, and testing. That kind of rising is rare. That kind of rising is sacred. It reveals a depth of character that cannot be learned from comfort. It can only be learned through walking through fire without losing your shape. You endured the fire, not as someone who escaped untouched, but as someone who refused to let the flames consume their identity. Your rise also carried a message, not to the world but to yourself. It showed you the truth of your own substance. It showed you that your values are not just ideals, they are living forces inside you. They shape your responses, protect your peace, and guide your actions, even when you are surrounded by uncertainty. It showed you that you can remain poised under pressure, that your honesty can withstand scrutiny, and that your heart can remain gentle even when wounded. You rose unshaken because your truth is not fragile. It does not crack under pressure. It does not fade when questioned. It does not disappear when challenged. It remains, and because it remains, you remain. And now, standing in the aftermath of the trial, you can see the fullness of your own rising. You see how deeply your roots run, how strongly your spirit holds, and how far your conviction can carry you. You see that rising is not a moment but a way of being, an ongoing expression of your inner strength. You rose unshaken, anchored in unwavering truth, and because of this, nothing that tried to weaken you succeeded. You stand now not just as someone who endured, but as someone who emerged, someone who remained true, someone who rose. The trial became the doorway to your triumph, not because it was pleasant or easy, but because it forced you to walk through a passage you never would have chosen on your own. That passage was narrow, uncomfortable, and filled with moments that tested every part of your character. Yet as you stepped into it, something profound began to unfold. What first appeared to be an obstacle revealed itself slowly as a path. What seemed like a punishment revealed itself as preparation. You thought you had been pushed into difficulty, but in truth, you had been guided toward a breakthrough you could not yet see. Every challenge you faced inside that trial became part of the architecture of the triumph waiting on the other side. This doorway was not decorated with comfort. It did not invite you with warmth. Instead, it confronted you with the reality of who you were and who you were becoming. The trial demanded honesty. It required you to confront fears you had tried to avoid, to release habits that no longer served you, to acknowledge truths you had buried beneath excuses. It was in these confrontations, that the doorway began to open, not through force, not through denial, but through your willingness to face what needed to be faced. The parts of the trial that felt harsh were in fact the chisels shaping you for the triumph ahead. You may not have realized it at first, but the trial carried lessons encoded within it, lessons that would become the very tools you needed to step into the next chapter of your life. Patience was forged in waiting. Strength was forged in standing firm. Clarity was forged in moments of confusion. Compassion was forged in moments where you were misunderstood. Endurance was forged each time you continued forward despite the weight of the challenge. One by one, these qualities became the building blocks of your triumph. Triumph is not born from ease, it is born from pressure. You stood under that pressure, and it shaped you into someone capable of holding what is coming. The doorway of the trial did not open until you proved ready to walk through it. It did not open when you were comfortable. It did not open when you felt strong. It opened when you were determined, when you chose perspective over panic, when you refused to give up, even though your emotions tried to persuade you otherwise. When you learned that victory is not always found in overpowering your circumstances, but in mastering yourself. That mastery is what unlocked the door. Because triumph is not given to those who run from challenge, it is given to those who grow because of challenge. What makes your doorway so powerful is that it was carved from the very things that tried to defeat you. Every disappointment, every doubt, every moment where you questioned your path. These experiences etched the frame of your doorway. They forced you to step into a deeper version of your strength, one that could only emerge under pressure. And now, looking back, you can see that the trial did not delay your triumph, it delivered you to it. Without the trial, you would not be standing where you are now, with the depth, the clarity, and the grounded confidence that have become part of your identity. Triumph is not just a moment of victory, it is a state of being. A realization that you have overcome not only external obstacles, but the internal ones that once held you back. The trial taught you how to navigate uncertainty without losing your direction. It taught you how to remain true to yourself, even when situations tried to make you doubt your worth. It taught you that endurance is not about holding on forever, but about holding on long enough for purpose to reveal itself. And when that purpose finally emerged, the door before you opened in full. Your triumph is deeper because your trial was challenging. If everything had come easily, you would not value the freedom, strength, or wisdom you now carry. Ease does not create appreciation. Adversity does. It is through difficulty that you learned what you truly deserve. It is through testing that you discovered how much you can endure. And it is through perseverance that you earn the right to step into the triumph that now awaits you. The doorway also marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. You are no longer the person who entered the trial. You do not think the same, feel the same, or stand the same. You have shed old fears, outdated beliefs, and emotional burdens. The trial stripped away what could not survive your next level. It refined you, preparing you for opportunities, responsibilities and blessings that would have been too heavy for your former self. The version of you that went through the trial needed to be transformed, so that the version of you who stepped into triumph would be ready. Walking through the doorway means acknowledging the growth the trial gave you. It means recognizing that what once felt like a setback was actually a setup. What felt like loss was repositioning. What felt like confusion was direction. What felt like abandonment was alignment. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. And the doorway stands as the proof of that preparation. On the other side of this door lies a triumph that is not shallow or temporary. It is rooted in everything you learned, everything you endured, and everything you overcame. It is a triumph that cannot be taken from you, because it was not handed to you. It was earned through resilience, clarity, and courage. You walked the hard road, but that road became the path to your elevation. You carried the weight, but that weight built the strength you now stand with. You faced the trial, and the trial opened the door. The trial became the doorway to your triumph because you refused to remain in the place where it tried to keep you. You chose growth, you chose endurance, you chose truth. And by choosing these, you transformed what was meant to hinder you into the very thing that propelled you forward. Your triumph is not coming. It is here, because you walked through the door built by the trial that once stood in your way.